We've really been getting a lot of black superhero love with Luke Cage taking shit over. We also got the Black Panther moving in full effect. But let's not forget some of the lesser known heroes like Blank Man and the Meteor Man. What's up, everybody? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're looking to get your music reviewed, you can hit up this email that's right here. But today, I'm glad to finally be able to talk about this new Underachievers album called Renaissance. Now, if you're not familiar with the Underachievers, they're a hip-hop duo out of New York made up of AK the Savior and Issa Gold, who now goes by Solace, and they put out a lot of projects in the past, many of which I think are pretty dope. The first one of theirs I actually got into is Evermore, The Art of Duality, where they were just blending these conscious boom bap tracks along with some very street, grimy ass bangers. And then on their next mixtape, called It Happened in Flatbush, they really went all in with the bangers and didn't disappoint at all. So I was curious to hear which direction they'd be going in with this one, because even when they are making those bangers, they are still rapping their asses off, man. I say it all the time about the Underachievers. They are the perfect duo to look at if you want to learn how to make bangers without having to sacrifice your rap skills, because a lot of the time we'll hear these tracks where artists are making trunk slappers and just saying nothing. They have boring flows and just very low technical skill, and people will defend them by saying, oh, come on, man, it's just some bangers and trunk slappers, man. That's all it is. It's not supposed to be so deep. And I do understand that, and I do like some of those tracks, but it is refreshing to have a duo like the Underachievers who make those style of tracks and go all the way in with the fucking bars. So with this album right here, they're going back to that kind of style they had on Evermore, where they are blending these boom bap tracks and bangers. And you will see a couple of production credits from Ronnie J, who actually did some of those tracks on It Happened in Flatbush. Now, Ronnie J has also worked with Denzel Curry and crafted a lot of bangers for him, so I am a fan of his production style, and he really comes through with some great work on this project right here. On Any Day, you get this very nasty, twisting bass line, so this is some shit you can definitely crank all the way up. And then on Head Right, you get this beat that has very active percussion, very unique sound to it, so I like what he was doing with the drum work on there. And you get these heavy-ass 808s, man, heavier than Roseanne and Dan Connor having a fuck session. So that's pretty damn heavy if you want to throw back on some 90s sitcom type of shit. But I gotta say, my favorite banger from Ronnie J on here is easily Crescendo, because the bass rolls on this are insane, man. They are so goddamn thick. They are thicker than Sierra Lewis. And if you know who Sierra Lewis is, whew, you must have a sore wrist by now in 2017, because she is a porn OG. Now, when it comes to these bangers I've discussed, they're not really too deep with the content. They just are what they are. Some shit to wild out to. Although I gotta say, again, they are still rapping their asses off, and you will hear some very catchy hooks, especially on Head Right. This is some shit that might start a riot. And of course, I gotta bring up some of the fun references that you'll hear on these tracks and throughout the album. I remember hearing a line about playing cards like Gambit. There was another one where there were references to Venom and Peter Parker, so that was kind of cool. And even a reference to One Punch Man himself, Saitama. So if you're a blurred or a nerd, you're definitely gonna pick up on some really dope references throughout this project. The Venom and Peter Parker references actually occur on Eyes Wide Open, and then on Gotham Nights, you will hear a reference to Donatello, when I believe it's AK who says he's all about that cheddar like Donatello. So I'm not saying every time they reference something, the line is incredibly dope. Like, I mean, a Ninja Turtle pizza bar isn't really anything too crazy, but still, it's just fun to hear these lines if that's the sort of thing you're into. And I do have to mention how those last two tracks I just mentioned, Gotham Nights and Eyes Wide Open, these are two tracks that are on that more traditional boom bap sound. They have those thick ass drums and of course some jazzy influences as well. So now we're going to talk about these boom bap tracks, because a lot of these ones are the ones that come through with the social commentary and more thoughtful and introspective content. You got the song Phoenix Feathers, where they're encouraging people to rise up and make use of their full potential rather than fall victim to the streets. And this track has a really nice bass line on it. Definitely something you could work with if you're just riding around at night on some smooth shit. And really, I just like the idea of rising up like Phoenix Feathers. Kind of makes me think about Phoenix Downs, and we all know how important those are if you're playing Final Fantasy. Now, you also got the track called St. Paul. This was one of the singles featuring Mello. And this beat, again, is very smooth and lavish. You have some nice background vocals from Mello, who also handles the hook and sounds absolutely amazing. And content-wise, I liked on here when Solace was saying that you got to embrace all different cultures and everyone coming together, because it takes a lot of different flavors to make that recipe work out. I just thought that was kind of a cool way to talk about people and compare them to food without making it weird and creepy on some cannibal holocaust type of shit. So that was a really good line. And throughout this album, you do get the feeling that Issa Gold, or Solace I should say, and AK the Savior are all about that peace, love, and equality. And they don't do it in a way where they're kind of shoving it down your throat like, say, artists like Logic are known to do. They really are just putting it here and there in their bars. So it comes across as very sincere. You gotta love the positive and inspirational influences they're giving us on this project. But the standout track here to me has got to be Break the System. This one just has this very dope, thick bass, dreamy boom bap production, and again, we have Mello helping out with her very silky smooth vocals. Now, I do gotta say, there are some kind of weird bars on here where AK is saying that he made your lady drink his cum like gravy, so you know what, it's not his baby. I understand what he's trying to say, but if she's drinking your cum like gravy, that's some weird shit. What is she doing? Just ladling up your cum at Thanksgiving dinner, putting it all over her turkey and mashed potatoes? That is some weird shit. I mean, I don't know why you would want to do that unless, I guess, you're a bukkake queen or something like that. But anyway, aside from that, you get some really nice content over top of this dope production. You will hear some bars about injustice, racial inequality, and of course, crooked police, so they're bringing that social commentary. And Solace in particular snaps on his verse because he tells this story about this young man who gets caught up in the streets and winds up going to jail. And not only does he wind up in jail, he ends up sharing a cell with his father, who obviously is also in jail. How else could he share a cell with him in jail if they weren't both in jail, Lucas? You don't need to say obvious things. But anyway, they end up sharing a cell, and he raps a little bit about how these vicious cycles are really taking people down. People get caught up in them. So he basically became his father by winding up in that cell. And he goes on to say that not everything in the world is racist, but we do need to address some of the systemic issues that are going on within certain neighborhoods, especially in the neighborhoods where people are living in poverty and really having a hard time getting out of there because of how things have been set up by various socioeconomic factors. So I just appreciated that line because he's making it very clear that he's not playing the race card or just trying to be a baby and whine about everything. He's just saying there are seriously some issues that need to be worked on and corrected within the United States. And I think if anyone disagrees with that, well, you must not be paying too much attention. So at the end of the day, to wrap this up, I thought this was a really dope album. I love the variety of production because myself, as someone who was born in the 80s, I came up on that 90s boom bap sound, so those tracks are dope. And then I also like those trunk slappers, those heavy ass bangers that I can work with when I'm just driving around or maybe down here in my basement and just wanting to turn some shit up. So production wise, everything is on point. They are rapping their asses off on every song. Although to be fair, they could maybe expand on some of their content a bit more. I think at times really their verses aren't overly focused, but I'm not saying they're bad rappers. They're definitely not. Like, it's not enough to ruin this project. I'm just saying to be even better, I would like to see them flesh out some more concepts and content a bit more. But a 4 out of 5 is still what I would give this. There was really only one lull in the album, and it was a couple of songs back to back to back where they were just rapping about smoking weed, lace bars, you know, not awful tracks, but they don't really do anything too different with these topics. And those 3 tracks in particular kind of got boring to me. So I'm going to tell you what they were. Super Potent, How We Roll, and Kiss the Sky. So there were still some good flows here, as I said, but those were 3 of my least favorites on here that I probably won't come back to. But you know what? I don't have a whole lot of complaints. 4 out of 5 seems fair to me. But you guys check it out for yourself and then hit me up in the comments section with your thoughts, because I want to know how you feel about this one. How do you feel it stacks up to some of their other work? Now, you also want to make sure that you do all that good YouTube and social media stuff where you like my videos, you share them, you follow me on Twitter, you retweet the videos, and of course, man, you got to subscribe. Check me out on Instagram, the Facebook page, all that good shit. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will see you next time.